Hey, welcome. Today we're diving into a really cool idea for management research. We usually think that when scientists study a specific community, it's all about helping that community. But what if the biggest winner in all this is the field of science itself? Let's get into how a deep focus on one group can end up supercharging an entire discipline in ways you'd never expect.
So you might be asking, why this group and why now? Well, get this. By the year 2060, it's projected that Hispanic workers will make up about 80% of the total growth in the U.S. labor force. That's not a small number. It's a massive demographic shift. So understanding this is absolutely crucial for the future of work. The things we learn here have huge real-world consequences. And that brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer, and it's captured perfectly in this quote from researchers Herman Aguinas and Harry Joe. They took a famous line and just flipped it on its head. The question isn't just, how can we apply our existing theories to Hispanic and Latin Americans? No, the much more powerful question is, what can studying this group teach the entire field of management? Exactly. It's all about shifting our perspective. I mean, of course, helping the community is a vital goal, but what the source paper argues is that this kind of focused research also works like a catalyst. It forces the whole field to get better, to innovate, and to improve itself.
So, let's tackle that hypothesis head on. Does studying one group really make the entire science of management better for everybody? Let's unpack that. Okay, so how does this actually work? Well, the source material lays it out really clearly. It points to 4 specific ways that this kind of research pumps new life into the whole field of management. Think of them as 4 channels for innovation. This slide is basically our roadmap for the next few minutes. There are 4 big challenges in management: the gap between science and practice, getting stuck in old research methods, dealing with ethical hurdles, and the constant scarcity of resources. And for each one, research on HLAs offers a really unique and powerful solution. Let's break them down one by one. First up, the science-practice gap. This is a huge problem in a lot of academic fields. Basically, researchers publish thousands and thousands of papers, right? But how many of those are actually read and used by the managers and policymakers on the front lines? Often, not many. There's this massive disconnect. Academics are over here focused on theory, while people in the real world need solutions they can use today. And this case study is a brilliant example of how focused research can close that gap. So injury rates among Hispanic construction workers were way too high. The easy assumptions? Oh, it's probably language barriers or a lack of training. But when researchers actually went out and interviewed the workers, they found the real reasons: intense pressure from supervisors to work faster, and a real fear of speaking up. And here's a fascinating detail. Many workers actually preferred non-Hispanic supervisors because they felt they put less pressure on them. Now, that is a deep, practical insight that led directly to a safety program that actually worked. This wasn't just theory. It was actionable knowledge that literally saves lives. All right, the second big benefit is all about pushing for new and better research methods. The field of management has become really dominated by quantitative, numbers-heavy studies. But here's the problem. In one top journal, only about 10% of articles were qualitative. Yet around half of all new theories actually need qualitative approaches to even be tested. See the mismatch? And this is why studying specific communities is so valuable. It forces researchers to get out of their comfort zone. In a study on food service safety, for instance, sending out traditional surveys just wasn't going to work. So instead, they used qualitative focus groups. And what they discovered was something brand new. A huge barrier to safety was what they called bad apples, coworkers with bad attitudes who just didn't follow the rules. That insight is pure gold for managers thinking about hiring and team dynamics. A new method led to a totally practical discovery. Benefit number 3 is about navigating ethical hurdles. Any research with human subjects has to get approved by an institutional review board, or IRB. Their job is to protect people, which is absolutely critical. But sometimes the process can get so complicated and rigid that it actually creates barriers for researchers, especially when they're working with vulnerable populations. But here again, the specific challenges of this research have pioneered solutions for everyone. For example, when studying farm workers who might be undocumented, asking for a signed consent form could put them at risk. The clever solution? Use verbal consent to protect their anonymity. In another powerful case, researchers studying domestic violence survivors didn't just go in alone. They partnered with community organizations to build safety protocols together. And they even created a win-win by helping those organizations evaluate their own services. These are creative, compassionate solutions that can now be used as a model anywhere.
The fourth benefit tackles a very real problem for academics: resource scarcity. Getting published in a top journal is incredibly hard. I mean, rejection rates are often hovering around 90%. To succeed, you need top-notch data and funding, and the competition for both is fierce.
But this is where this research area can open up completely new doors. It gives researchers access to large databases they might have overlooked. It creates unique opportunities for collecting new data by partnering with professional groups. And, crucially, it also opens up access to specific grants and funding streams. It basically creates a whole new ecosystem of opportunity. Okay, so we've seen the why, the four big benefits, but how do you actually do this kind of research well and ethically? Well, the source paper also gives us a fantastic guide, building on earlier work, that lays out 5 key recommendations for anyone doing cross-cultural research. These 5 steps are a masterclass in how to do thoughtful research. First, back translation. This is more than just a simple translation. One person translates from English to Spanish, then a different person who hasn't seen the original English text translates it back to English. This is how you catch subtle meanings that get lost in translation. Second, you have to pre-test your materials with people from the community. Make sure the language isn't just correct, but that it's actually clear and makes sense to them. Third, get sponsorship. This means getting a stamp of approval from a trusted community leader. Their endorsement builds trust and makes people much more likely to participate. Fourth, align the research with the community's values. You have to show people how participating in your study actually supports the things they care about. And finally, number 5, and this one might be the most important, use culture-specific knowledge. You absolutely have to have bilingual and bicultural researchers on your team. Their lived understanding of the culture is priceless at every single stage of the project. So let's zoom out and put this all together. What we're really seeing here is this incredible ripple effect. What might look like a niche topic on the surface is actually an engine for advancement across the entire field. And here it is, the big takeaway. When you dig deep into the complexities of one community, it forces researchers to just be better. It pushes them to close that science practice gap, to invent new methods, to pioneer more thoughtful ethics, and to find new resources. This kind of work doesn't just fill a gap in our knowledge. It makes the whole scientific enterprise stronger. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If this is true for management research and Hispanic and Latin Americans, where else could it be true? What other focused, deep dive research areas could be holding the keys to unlock innovation in fields like technology or medicine or education? It's a powerful lesson in how being specific can lead to truly universal progress. Thanks for watching.